Hey everybody, this is Legendary Zoltan. Quick message before we start the video. This is the mega spoiler event for Star Ocean 3. I do plan on releasing a video where I actually explain, well and in detail and in the most dramatic and interesting way possible that I can, the entire lead up and the plot twist of Star Ocean 3. It's the famous one that completely alters your view of all the other Star Ocean games as well. So if you haven't played Star Ocean 3, I would recommend that you do not watch this video. And please wait until I make the explanation video about Star Ocean 3 and the nature of the universe in Star Ocean. Thank you very much. Hey guys, this is the Legendary Zoltan, and I got something special for you guys today. If you are interested in Star Ocean or Tri-Ace, you're going to enjoy this. This is an interview that I suppose you could say is exclusive to this YouTube channel. Because I translate it from Japanese to English myself. So thank you very much to a guy called Close Tomato from the Star Ocean Reddit page. That person said, hey, I have this book called the Star Ocean 3 Eternal Materials book. And I can't find any English translations of it. And I'm like, I'll translate that for you because I have an interest in that. So it turned out to, be a win-win. That person's going to get their book translated, and I get to know what was in there and make this video. So I'm just going to read the article to you guys. There's some pretty fun stuff in here that Yoshiharu Gotanda talks about. So this is the Star Ocean 3 Eternal Materials Tri-Ace interview. I haven't seen this anywhere on the internet either, so I think it's exclusive to this channel. Let's enjoy. Translation by the Legendary Zoltan. SO3 equals Star Ocean 3, just in case you didn't know that. First question. When did planning for Star Ocean 3 begin? Gotanda says, while we were still making the second story. During the debugging phase, a bunch of us would go to a restaurant and talk about what we are going to put in Star Ocean 3. And before we knew it, it would be morning. Next question. Why did you replace the voice collection with the battle collection? The voice collection is, of course, a thing that was in Star Ocean 2, and it's not in Star Ocean 3, so that's what that is referring to. Gotanda says, it wasn't that we wanted to replace it, we just didn't want to do the same thing as before. Also, we didn't have enough disk space because there are a lot of voices. Don't worry, I'm sure someone will eventually copy the voice collection idea. Even after all these years, I don't think anybody actually has, though. Kojima says, a lot of players said the voice collection was really hard, but the hardcore players said they wanted more voices. And then Ogawa says, the battle trophies are designed so that no one will have all of the trophies by the end of the game. Some require a second playthrough, and some are just really hard to get. But if you look at the way the trophies are ordered, it's actually possible to guess what the unobtained trophies are. We made the trophies this way in hopes that people would enjoy figuring them out on their own. Do your best, players. I never tried to do that, but that sounds like fun now. The next question is, what was the design philosophy behind the battle trophies? And Gotanda says, basically, we put trophies that players would be able to come up with Basically, we put trophies that players would be able to come up with themselves as they play the game. But there are some we added out of impulse or momentum. A good example is number 291. Hit an enemy with a battle sphere 5 times. He said it's number 291. I think in the English version, it's number 295. In fact, I think it's 295 in the Japanese version, too. It could be a mistake. But he says it's the one where you hit the enemy 5 times with the battle sphere. Ogawa says, we put that one in because we had planned to make battle spheres much more easily accessible. But due to issues with the placement of items throughout the world, they ended up being very hard to get. I wonder how that happened. You can't just throw one more chest in the first area or something, and put a bunch of them in. I don't know how that works. It seems like that's an easy problem to not have. Before we go any further, I should tell you who these people are, shouldn't I? So hold on. There's a little profile of them that was not on the first page. Here we go. First one is profile. Tri-Ace President and CEO Yoshiharu Gotanda. This guy answers almost all the questions himself, and he is definitely the most important person. The creator of the Star Ocean universe. And on Star Ocean 3, he did the main story, the world, and the setting, etc. It said etc. in there, so that's interesting. He probably did like almost everything, probably. And let's see, there's two more people. Where are their profiles? Here's one. Tri-Ace Vice Director, Hiroshi Ogawa. One of the key people in the development of Star Ocean 3. He worked on the main story, character settings. I don't know if that means story settings, like story-related things with the characters, or actually like battle parameters. I'm not sure. Events, etc. He's on lots of things in the game too. And the last person here is Hajime Kojima, who is from Square Enix, not Tri-Ace. And it says here that he has full knowledge of the Star Ocean 3 world and supports Tri-Ace from the shadows. Okay, so let's get back to the interview now. Here we go. Next question. What do you like? He's asking the people who created the game, what do you like about the new Private Action System, or PA system? We wanted to show how characters' feelings change over time in a natural way through casual conversation. In Star Ocean 2, you had to initiate PAs with a button press. This time it flows more naturally. We've been thinking about this forever. I think there were plans for this type of system in Star Ocean 2 planning documents. And by what they mean by more naturally is just instead of going into a town and pressing the private action button to go look for private actions, just anytime you go to a town, you go look for your party members and just talk to strike a conversation with them. And depending on the situation, there might be a conversation that is classified as a private action. I found hardly any of the available private actions in Star Ocean 3. Interviewer, it sounds like you've gotten closer to your ideal system now. Ogawa, the system is closer to ideal, but I wouldn't say I'm satisfied. I wanted to put a lot more conversations in there. Interviewer, it's been 6 months since release. Is there anything you wish you could put in the game right now? Gotanda said, if I had infinite time, I'd probably just remake the entire game from scratch. Man, that is hardcore. Ogawa says, there are several things I wish I had done now. One example is your mode of transportation on Elacor 2. You have to walk everywhere, and you spend a lot of time traveling. So I really wish I had put in other means of getting around. I had some ideas for it, but none of them felt right to me, so I didn't use any of them. Theme, Lineage. That's the theme of the next conversation. The language of Elacor 2 looks like the ancient letters on the planet Styx. Why is that? Gotanda says, originally, only demi-humans lived on Elacor 2. When the original planet Need was crumbling away, some people escaped the planet in a ship that can travel through time and space. They arrived on Elacor 2 and brought their writings with them. Eventually, the Kingdom of Aquaria was born from this. So they're saying that the Kingdom of Aquaria on Elacor 2 is descended from Needians who crashed on Elacor 2. Interesting. And they landed on Elacor 3.7 billion years before the destruction of... And they landed on Elacor 3.7 billion years before the destruction of Need? Question mark? Gotanda says, we never decided precisely when, but they went to Elacor a few billion years after the destruction of Need. The reason it took them so long is because their technology for traveling through time-space wasn't perfected, and thus there were many accidents. So the people aboard the ship put themselves in cryostasis and slept until the tech was developed. So I guess a bunch of them got to be put in cryostasis while the scientists had to keep on working and giving birth to their children and letting their children be scientists, and then that continuing for for a few billion years. Jesus. question, is this method of traveling through space-time the same system that was used to transport Rena from Energy Need to Expel? Gotanda says, Rena lived in a different era, but it's pretty much the same. Refugees from Need arrived on planets other than Ellicor as well. This all happened billions of years ago. Interviewer, does this mean that the current generation of people on Ellicor are descendants of Needians? Gotanda, that's right. Because among those people that arrived from Need were some... Okay, that's right. So yeah, I need to fix this. So this is a word I'm not sure what to do with. I've asked all kinds of people. There were some jutsushis among those people. Now, jutsushi just means the person who uses the technique, and it doesn't specify what technique. If it said jutsushi, that would be a magic user. But it didn't say it, just said jutsushi, which just means the person who uses whatever technique is currently in question. So I guess they mean the people who know how to make the time-space travel system? Is that who they meant? I'm not sure. So, yeah, my translation is unfortunately lacking on this phrase right here. So because among those people that arrived from Need were some technique users, some jutsushis. If you want to know just how long the bloodline has endured, check the Book of Lineages in Aquaria Castle. My mind blown. I had no idea that was in there. I gotta go find that. I gotta go look at what they're talking about. I really care about that stuff. Interviewer, now that you mention it, they used healing magic as medical treatment, didn't they? But there is no healing magic in symbology. Okay, so here's another spot that I'm just like, wait, what? It said on there, Monshou Jutsu. And if you go look on like all the Japanese Star Ocean Wikipedia pages and stuff, the magic used in Star Ocean 2, which is called heraldry, is called Monshou Jutsushi. And the magic used in Star Ocean 3, which is called symbology, is also called Monshou Jutsu. So I'm not sure what they mean. In Star Ocean 2, everybody used heraldry, except for Rena, who used, her special powers from the planet Need. And so she was the only one in the whole world who had healing magic, and everybody noticed that. Because there is none in heraldry for sure. I think that they mean symbology here, though, because symbology is the name of the one that they use in Star Ocean 3. But there is no healing magic in symbology. It doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure there is. I mean, there's a book in Star Ocean 3 called Common Healing Symbols that you can get, and you can have Nell use it and learn heal spell. So I don't get it. I'm not sure. Monshou Jutsu. Gotanda says, yes, the doctor in Amina's event used it, for example. But healing magic that can save a life is really complicated. Not everyone can use it. Remember, only direct descendants of Needians can use healing magic. Oh, okay, wait, all of a sudden it's making sense to me now. Well, sort of. Expellians such as Celine and Leon can't. I'll think about that later. Interviewer, moving on. It's established in the opening that there's a conflict going on that is dividing space into 3 factions. Can you tell me about the distribution of power in the galaxy? Gotanda answers. There are the Galactic Federation and the Aldean Empire acting as the 2 main powers in the galaxy. For the longest time, Aldean had never had any diplomatic relations with any other nations. The Federation and Aldean have been at war for over 60 years. Compared to them, Vendine is a weak, tiny nation, but they have very advanced technology. Both the Federation and Aldean want to recruit Vendine to their side. But thanks to their technology, they were able to maintain neutrality. Of course, the Vendini think they are the strongest in the galaxy. Interviewer, it seems like Aldean has a very large sphere of influence. Gotanda, they don't appear in the game, but they are set as being a massive force. They are the only force that could ever go up against the Federation. But then they were annihilated by the executioners like they were nothing. So you might think they weren't a big deal, but there were they were an absolutely huge faction. Let's fix that. They. Interviewer, the high-tech Vendini are established as knowing about the existence of 4D beings. Did they reach that conclusion on their own? Ogawa says, maybe. I don't think they know of any specific people being 4D. You know, in this world exists something akin to gods, and the Vendini know that those godlike beings are threatening us. But they don't know that there is a place called 4D space with 4D beings that are manipulating us. Interviewer, so what do the Vendini hope to accomplish by capturing Fate? Ogawa says, they know that Fate has some kind of power that can rival these godlike beings, and they don't know what will happen to them if the Federation acquires that power, so they want to take it for themselves. And then Gotanda says, the Vendini don't know that Fate himself is the weapon, so they kidnapped Dr. Lion God as well. Sophia was captured too. Did they know that she has a power too? Ogawa says, I don't think so, but they probably just assumed that she did based on the fragments of information they had on Fate. The Vendini never wait for conclusive evidence before they make decisions. It's impressive to me how completely fleshed out and well-rounded and all the details are decided, at least in the minds of the creators. You know, they don't give all these little details in the game. I'm kind of impressed, though, I don't know, maybe they had to stop and think about it for a long time. I don't know, because this is a written interview. I don't know. Here's a quote that's upcoming quote. A person can become a god just by creating an encapsulated world. Interviewer, what kind of world is 4D space? Gotanda, they don't have 20th... Pardon me. They don't have 27th century level development. If we compare our real-life technology to that of 4D space, I'd say we are just moderately inferior in certain areas. Interviewer, I see. The weapons the 4D security service used weren't really all that advanced either. They were kind of sloppy, too. Gotanda says, the point of that battle was to let down the player by making them think, is this the only kind of weapon I'll be attacked with in 4D? That's how I hoped players would feel. So that's why that fight is like that. That's interesting. That is the gun moment in Star Ocean 3. That is Star Ocean 3's gun moment. If you've played all the Star Oceans, you know they all have a gun moment. And yeah, I remember those guys, they shoot the hell out of you, and if you don't know what to do, or you panic, you die like in no time. But if you just like go ahead and mash the attack button, like you find out that like everybody dies in like 2 or 3 hits anyway, so you can just eat the bullets and attack. So where does the 4D world excel? Gotanda, computer technology. They have the ability to fully simulate a world with inhabitants that believe it's real. Of course, those people inside the simulation would view people with the ability to create such worlds as gods. So all it takes to be a god is the ability to create the simulation, and that's it. In other words, anyone who specializes in that kind of programming? Gotanda says, right. I don't believe that being a god means that nothing can hurt you. If you can create a world that's closed off from other worlds, you can become a god. The game is implying that if gods exist, they are simply beings that have a power we cannot obtain. This is the original theme for 4D space. So we're getting into Gotanda's like real life philosophies now. You're going to find out all the stuff that's in Star Ocean games, it's what he really believes about the real world. It's crazy, yo. Is the 4D world itself based on anything? Gotanda says, I thought of it as a world that would be boring to live in, yet full of decadence and degeneracy. My concept for 4D people is that they are too programmed or manipulated by a higher... My concept for 4D people is that they too are programmed or manipulated by a higher existence. Probably by 5D beings. Ha 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 ha, he laughs. And this game that was created by 4D beings, the Eternal Sphere, what kind of game is it? Gotanda says it's not actually a game. It's treated like an online game to make it easy to understand, but it's really a world simulator. You can only watch it. You can make a character, but you can't control it. That may seem different to how it's portrayed in the game, but that was the intended concept since Phase 1. So then what exactly are you seeing when you watch the Eternal Sphere? Gotanda says, you're watching the things that are happening now in real time, and also past events. You can view past events that have happened at any time or place. That's what makes these people 4D. Space plus time. We can't travel through time, but they can. Although they can't alter what transpired in the past. The events that are happening in real time can only be watched? Gotanda says, the Eternal Sphere is basically built just to be watched. But over the course of time, this is super interesting, you guys. But over the course of time, new plugins are installed. For example, a nuclear weapon plugin. Ha 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 ha, he laughs. When that happens, somebody somewhere in the world develops a new technology, and that technology becomes a foothold for an entire civilization to become one step more advanced. In the real world, new technology is not being developed in a single place. In faraway places, there are people researching the same thing at the same time. And the one that manages to put everything together first gets to announce it to the world. Now, how could two... This is so fun. Now, how could two completely... I meant to play completely here. I swear I spell checked this once already. Now, how could two completely unrelated people researching the exact same thing be a coincidence? It's not. It's because a new plugin was installed. That's how I like to think about it. This idea was one of the foundations upon which the Eternal Sphere was created. I was super tempted to just leave out the phrase, that's how I like to think about it, and make you all think that that's what he really thinks is the world. Okay. Interviewer says, why do you say there are multiple timelines in Star Ocean? And Gotanda says, it comes from a recent theory in space science that says there are multiple universes, and that ours is just one of many. It's the same as the theory that the 3D universe, which was created by 4D beings, is just one of many universes. It's the same as there being a parallel dimension running alongside our real-life galaxy and timeline. To say it another way, time is marching on from all points in time simultaneously. Thus, we use the phrase multiple timelines. Of course, there is no way to leave this universe to confirm there are others. Interesting. Theme, story. Not that all that other previous stuff wasn't related to the story. Star Ocean 3's story is like the final chapter in the series. Was this your intention when you were making Star Ocean 1? Gotanda says, I'm only ever thinking about the game I'm currently working on. Laughter. My intent with this game was to end the Star Ocean series. That's why I wanted to implement the idea of there being a 4D world beyond our world. If I use this plot device, that's the end of the story, no matter what, right? And Ogawa says, there were a lot of players who found the story shocking. And Gotanda says, the idea of a setting like 4D space has been used in science fiction so much that I honestly couldn't believe that was their opinion. The whole time I was worried that people would think the trope is boring for being too commonplace. The reaction makes me think that players just didn't have a lot of experience with sci-fi. Maybe this setting was a little hard to understand for people who don't read sci-fi novels. Admittedly, I don't read sci-fi novels, but I had no problem accepting the premise. Ogawa says, also the idea that the entire world and everything that happened in it up to that point was virtual reality shocked a lot of players. And Gotanda says, I think most of the shocked players weren't shocked for any specific reason. They were just shocked instinctually, like they were just betrayed. But the real world, this is great, here we go, dude. But the real world is just like a game. There's no guarantee that this world wasn't made by somebody else, is there? If players think about things in this way, then it will actually be very easy for them to accept the story. That is like the greatest possible reply you could give. How do 4D beings view the existence of fate? Ogawa says, not Gotanda, Ogawa says, he's the real-life manifestation of data they created. So I think they're terrified of what the ramifications could be. Now, you could say that since he's data, all you have to do is delete him. But it's not that simple, because within that data, intelligence has developed. So now there's a question of whether or not it's even okay to delete him. Blair is a moderate who respects this newly born intelligence. That is not the case with Luther. Okay, and then we're going on to this little side panel that they had on the page. It said, we asked President Gotanda, world and setting rapid fire Q&A. Question. So this is rapid fire Q&A. Here we go. Question. These are all answered by Yoshiharu Gotanda. Is it true that the code name for Star Ocean 1 was the Eternal Sphere? That's amazing. Answer, yes. And every single staff member at the time said the name was too difficult to understand. So we discarded it. And now we know why. This is me talking, not the interview, sorry. And now we know why there's a sword in Star Ocean 2 called the Eternal Sphere. Question, how many people are in the entire galaxy? Answer, there are 12 billion people in the Klaus system alone. So I'd say tens of trillions. Question, what kind of organization is Quark? Answer, it's an anti-federation group composed mainly of Clausians. It has thousands of members. The group is largely unknown, but it's becoming ever more important for a certain muscle man. Of course, he's referring to Cliff Fitter from Star Ocean 3. Question, what organization oversees the Underdeveloped Planet Preservation Pact? Answer, since it's a law related to soldiers, the Federation is in charge of it. Although it is often broken, it is so important that it has become the first article in Federation law. Question, what happens if you break the UP3? UP3 stands for the Underdeveloped Planet Preservation Pact. Its answer, it's a crime that's considered as heavy as murder. So unless you had no other choice, you'll be sentenced to death. Or you may be banished to eternity space. Question, are the time gates in Star Ocean 1 and Star Ocean 3 the same time gate? Answer, yes. Originally, the time gate was governed by AI. But in Star Ocean 3, Sophia was able to use her power of connection and open the gate to 4D space before the AI program could stop her. I don't know how that could possibly be so. Like, as soon as you notice somebody, like, accessing you, you just put up the freaking firewall, man, if you're an AI program. Like, instantly. Whatever. Question, what happened to Earth when it was hit by an executioner's attack? Answer, it remains completely intact. We may have exaggerated in the FMV, full motion video, but Earth did not get deleted. The movie that we ordered was entitled The Destruction of Earth. Looks like someone went a little crazy with the title there. That's funny. Question, what happens to Sphere Company? Answer, Luther dies and Blair takes over the company and does something with it. Question, where does Albel meet Romero? That's the guy in Albel's ending. Answer, Albel sent out a scouting team to some ruins, but when they didn't return, he decided to go search the ruins himself. Romero is an intelligent undead. The ending doesn't show the battle, but of course, Albel is not as strong as Luther. And translator's note, that's me, I'm the translator. This is referring to Albel's ending. I don't know why Gotanda references Luther here. Is he saying that the character Romero is Luther? And yeah, I'm not sure what he means by that. I thought Romero was unrelated to Luther, but all of a sudden he's saying, of course, Albel is not as strong as Luther, so I don't get it. Okay, so that's the end of the rapid fire Q&A. Now back to the main interview. Why did Luther want to delete Fate? Because he's the last boss. Laughter. That was a joke, but if something unexpected pops up, you've got to deal with it somehow, right? Luther's method may have been a little excessive, but I think his reaction was normal. All he did was try to delete it using antivirus software such as the Convictors and the Executioners. Fate destroys them one after another and then jumps out of your computer screen. You'd be really surprised too. Luther kept on trying to erase the bug, Fate, and in the end, the bug decided to come after Luther. That's when he decided to just format the entire Eternal Sphere. A quote from Yoshiharu Gotanda. Quote, "I wish I could connect our brains with an electrode so you can understand what I'm thinking." That's an upcoming quote. Question, now that you mention it, Luther wasn't actually a bad guy, was he? A bad guy, was he? Gotanda, he created that world, so he is its God, and he believes that he should be able to do whatever he wants with it. But to the greatest people within his world, Luther looks like a god that has gone insane. That's really an interesting answer. Interviewer, in short, they have different viewpoints, right? Gotanda, Star Ocean 1 was the same way. If you remain calm and really think about it, you were the bad guys. I haven't played Star Ocean 1 to the end. This is kind of blowing my mind. I kind of want to play it now. That's what I was trying to communicate to the players. We could say the same thing that happened in that game, is happening in real life. For example, destruction of the environment. We are destroying the environment more and more, day by day, and everybody knows it's bad. Then one day, something inside a person's heart suddenly clicks, and he starts telling everyone, we have to stop destroying the environment. But he's been destroying the environment all this time, the same as everyone else. Is there a reason you made the last boss a game company? Gotanda says, I don't consider the Eternal Sphere a game. I didn't really have an image of what kind of company Sphere is. I guess you could think of it as a game company, though. Interviewer says, but that would make you the new Luther. And Gotanda laughs at it. Interviewer says, what are we supposed to think about the ending? And Gotanda says, there are no words in any human language that I can use to answer that question. It's something like, why were humans born into this world? Or, why do humans exist? I wish I could connect our brains with an electrode so you can understand what I'm thinking. Whether or not the world still exists after the ending, I leave to your imagination. Theme: unpublished information. Question: Star Ocean 3 has the smallest number of characters in the series. Was that the plan from the beginning? Ogawa is answering here. We were going to have the inventor Isaac join the party. Maria uses beam guns, so we were going to have Isaac use machine guns or some modern weapon that has live ammunition. But he doesn't talk much, so we never came up with any story events for him. Did you have an ending in mind for him? Ogawa says, just a concept. Laughter. We imagined it being like Raputa, where there's a robot and a young girl. Isaac puts the girl on a spaceship, and Isaac himself is an essential part of the ship's computer. But we decided not to include him pretty early on, so we don't have any partially completed work for him. Are there any characters you wanted to add to the party? Ogawa says, we thought about Mirage, but not as a full-on character. Just as a character you can use in a bonus dungeon or something like that. Translator's note: the original version that was released in Japan did not have Mirage or Audrey as playable characters. They were later added into a version called Director's Cut, which is the version that was released in America. Gotanda says, Mirage can't join you in the beginning of the game because she's constantly helping you from the outside. I never told anyone to make an ending for Mirage, but she's involved in the story from the beginning until the end, so she ended up getting an ending just naturally. What kind of character did you plan to make Mirage? Ogawa says, Cliff mostly punches stuff, so we were gonna make Mirage kick stuff. Thinking about it now, she probably would have been better balanced and stronger than Cliff. Whoa. I wonder if that's how she really is. I never really played her much. In our English version, of course, we have access to Mirage. I'd like to inquire about a rumor that's been going around about the mysterious character Elena Fromm. To be as direct as possible, who is she? Gotanda says she is exactly what the rumors say she is, a 4D being. And she was one of the developers of the Eternal Sphere. There's a message in the game that says that during development there was an accident that transferred her spirit into the Eternal Sphere. And then like the best possible question ever comes up. What happens when your spirit is trapped in the Eternal Sphere? Gotanda says her spirit is removed from her body. So in the 4D world, she is a vegetable. Her spirit in the Eternal Sphere retains all knowledge and self-awareness. Her appearance was set to her preference when her spirit was transferred. That's interesting. She can't. I wonder if she can change it now that she's in there, though. That's my question. Her appearance was set when she got transferred in there, kind of like she was making the character. The moment that she got transferred was exactly the same program as making the character. So she could like choose her preferences, but can she change it? Can she change it? I need to know that. I guess it was easy for her to invent something like the Thunder Arrow with her retained knowledge. Gotanda says she's not trying to use her advanced knowledge to invent or discover anything. And the interviewer asks, so how did she become head researcher at the castle? Gotanda says, from the view of Elikorians, she is a person who casually lets Nobel Prize level discoveries slip from her lips. Because of her accomplishments in real life, she rose to such a position, but she did so reluctantly. She doesn't actually want to invent things. Making a symbological weapon wasn't Elena's idea. It started with Dio and Macwell. But an idea like that has a lot of dangerous elements that could cause a huge accident. So she added a bunch of safety features to the blueprints, and now no one other than her can fully understand its construction. Laughter. By the way, there are books in Elena's room with symbological symbols written in them. Can Elena read sentences written in symbols? Translator's note. I'm not entirely sure if they mean symbology or heraldry. Looking on the Japanese, so this is the thing I said before, looking on the Japanese Wikipedia articles for both games, it refers to the magic that Celine from Star Ocean 2, Sophia from Star Ocean 3, and Nell from Star Ocean 3 can use, all as Monsho Jutsu. I will be translating this word as symbology. Let me know if you find any discrepancies with that translation. Now that I think about it, though, I don't think it could be heraldry. Why would there be books written in heraldic symbols in Star Ocean 3? It's got to be symbology, right? But then they were saying like there are no healing spells in symbology, and that confuses me. Ogawa says she's 4D, so of course she can. She can read it more easily than she can read Elikor's language. She has a deep grasp of it. Can we assume that it was Elena who supplied Ruddle and Rumina with all the latest armor and weapons at the endgame? And Ogawa says that's right. Even with the materials available to her on an underdeveloped planet, she can make anything within the bounds of her knowledge. It's impressive. I'm impressed that, I would have been totally satisfied to just say, you know what, the Ruddle and Rumina side quest, it's just a freaking side quest. They open up their shop. They live on an undeveloped planet, but they got laser weapons or whatever they have. I don't really remember what they have, but something like that, right? It's a game. I'm fine with it, but they actually, I guess they decided. They actually created a lore reason for them to have those crazy things. Elena gave it to them. That's awesome. Let's leave the topic of what Elena knows and move on to what she has been doing until now. She was dating Arze, the king of Eriglyph, for a while. Did she ever reciprocate Arze's feelings? How did they meet? Ogawa says, yes, they were dating a long time ago. Elena had already given up trying to escape the Eternal Sphere. So she vowed to find love in this world. When a genius girl, Elena, suddenly appeared in Aquaria Castle, the new exchange student that everyone was talking about, Arze, decided to strike up a conversation with her. Question, does Elena age? Can she die from disease? Gotanda, no and no. Question, I want to ask you about Nell's ending. Does Nell know Elena's true form? Ogawa says, not to the point where she can say, you're 4D! But Nell saw the 4D world with Fate, So she definitely doesn't look at Elena the same as she did at the beginning of the game. Another quote from Gotanda, I believe. Keep using your imagination while you look forward to the next game. The next game was 4. I can't believe that people didn't like it as much as I did. Do you have a message for the Star Ocean fans? Gotanda says, as far as I'm concerned, Star Ocean is finished. Damn. Kojima says, I can say that this is Kojima, okay. This is Kojima. This is the Square Enix guy, not the Tri-Ace guy. He's going to say, I can say that if fans communicate their passion, there is a good chance Star Ocean can come back. I'm sure that President Gotanda feels the same way. And then he laughs. And then Gotanda says, yeah, uncomfortable laughter. It said that in the interview, that it was an uncomfortable laugh or a bitter laugh. It's like the one time the guy from Square Enix opens his mouth and says something, Gotanda did not like what he said, I guess. I guess he was really set on not continuing Star Ocean, but now we're up to Star Ocean 6, yo. If we take the first letter of each line in the prophetic scriptures and decipher the code, it will tell us the next game you're working on. And that is... Ogawa says, it's a secret, and laughs. It might be a new Star Ocean. It might be a new Valkyrie profile. It could be anything. So you are, in fact, working on the next game already? Gotanda says, maybe. I don't know. Laughter. I personally would like to make an original new game. Again, I'd like to make a game that we at Tri-Ace will enjoy playing. I hope you will like it too. And that, my friends, is the end of the interview. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to stick around for more awesome Star Ocean content in the future, I have some stuff coming out. For example, I have in the works, it's going to be a long while, but eventually I'm going to make every secret in Star Ocean 2, and that is going to be a crazy video. I have found so many secrets that nobody else knows, yo. So look forward to that. I'll see you guys in the next video.